Everyone, today is Friday, May 7th, 2021. The time is 10:03 a.m. This is our corporate budget fund study session or hearing. Today, I will begin with the city council budget. As you know, our budget for salaries, that's for all 7 council members, is a total of $76,749. And I just basically followed what we've done in the past. Our fringe benefits are $5,872 a year, even though we go nowhere near that. I still put it in there and it goes back to the general fund if we don't use it. Our supplies are $500. And our travel and education is $3,500, which I'm going to start encouraging council members to use that, because in the past, it doesn't look like we've barely used any of that, and you can never learn enough, as far as I'm concerned. Also, if we go to page 14, there, I'm sorry, that was on page number 5 and 6. If we go to page 14, under Corporation Council, we have the legal fees for City Council. Apparently, it was missed that they forgot to put in our allowance that we usually put in of $35,000. So I'm going to ask that we change that at the budget wrap up and add it in. At this time, I have no further presentation. Is there any questions?
Council Chair, I do.
Councilman Muscat.
The fringe benefits, what are they for?
I don't know. I think that would be the clerk's office. We could. Could that be mileage possibly?
No, I mean, we
don't
don't
have
get
fringe
mileage.
benefits.
We don't get fringe benefits. We don't even get mileage. I mean,
Okay,
I know
HR.
some of them.
Okay, let's get,
Hi.
Hi.
It's FICA. Hi, it's FICA. So it's your Social Security tax and Medicare tax that we have to pay because we issue you a paycheck.
Okay. FICA and
You got it.
okay, is there
Okay.
any further questions?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah?
so in regards to the 35,000, do you want to address that now, or do you want to address that during the Corporation Council section at a later date?
I'm mentioning it now, but we make our adjustments next Friday at our budget wrap up. So I just want to give everybody a heads up that I plan on adding that back in, as it has been for the last several years.
One of the main concerns that I've got, Madam Chair, is originally, I mean, and honestly, bluntly, originally it came through because of the situation with the audit. I mean, that was the only reason. There was really no other reason that we had that in there. And if you remember, this was a part of the tension or whatever you want to call it between the council and the mayor and going back and forth as far as the audit is concerned. The question we'd have to have for ourselves is, A, is an audit still moving forward? And then B, is that necessarily really needed? Because if there's not much of that back and forth between the council and the mayor, really, I think
I
it's kinda
agree.
not needed.
My thought process is whether we're moving forward with the audit or wrapping it up, there's still going to be a few straggler bills that's going to come through, and I want to make sure we cover it. Whatever's left over, we'll just go back to general fund. At least we're covered.
But we've always had an attorney, in this particular case with Gary Miyake. Me personally, I was comfortable enough to where if I had a legal question, I asked him, I was pretty comfortable with whatever answers that he had. I know some council members didn't feel as comfortable and felt they needed an independent attorney. I
Right.
personally don't see that much need for it, but I'm just saying it.
Right,
that's all.
I can understand that. I can respect that. But like I said, I don't know if Matt Shank still has more to bill us, is where I'm coming from,
Mhm.
to finalize his job. And once he, I don't foresee this being in the budget next year, is what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to cover whatever might still come in, and I'm sure it's not going to be a lot, but I'm just covering ourselves so we don't have to go back and do a budget amendment. I'd rather have it there and give it back than to have to figure out where we're going to find it if we need it.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Constant.
Just to echo what Councilman Abdullah said, it's we need to be frugal with our use of attorneys, and typically the council uses corporation counsel. We could have a situation where each council member had their own attorney and the judges had their attorney. So, but I agree. Let's, and I believe the original number was higher than 35,000, but I agree with Councilman Abdullah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Mayor Bazey. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Council Chair. I also, I was going to actually comment as Council Chair Pro Tem Abdullah and Councilman Constant. I do agree with both of them. We are obviously with what happened in the past, and now, we have a good, good thing going with the council and my office. We talked about it at the last meeting. I did submit everything that we needed to submit to the Raymond Group. So there's no disagreements anymore. And as you know, we have settled the lawsuit. So I would actually propose that, Chair, if you can call Mr. Shank and ask him what his bills are. And so we can actually, that's a lot of money to put in a budget to move back later. We can find out, because I thought we paid all our fees to Mr. Shank. So if you could find out.
I just got a bill the other day. So
Yeah,
I don't
but,
know if
we-
anything more is going to come in.
Yeah, if you can, we can ask and try to see if we settle. If it's like 2,000, 3,000, we can add that and just settle it. And as both Council Chair Pro Tem and Councilman Constant mentioned, we have Mr. Miyake, and several of you has reached out to him and things, and everything's running smoothly. I'd rather keep it that way. Again, I'm transparent here. It's just been on the council. We are in full compliance. We want to make sure that we work together as one team. We can have one council for the city.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I will reach out to Mr. Shank and see what his thoughts are as far as us maintaining a budget for him in regards to the future. Is there any further questions before we move on? Okay, thank you, everyone. Next, we have the mayor's office. Mayor, you're next.
Okay, thank you, Council Chair. So you look at the budget from last year. So again, the mayor's office for the mayor's salary, it's 89,879. Nothing's changed. For the chief of staff, we increased it. I know we're not going to talk about salaries today, but just to show you, we had 75,000. And we have the executive salary. It's like half. We have it at 21,636.29, and the director of grants. We increased that to 76,000. It's the same 76,000 from last year. So just wanted to show that nothing's changed there. Trying to get the salaries all up, and the only thing for the budget wrap up, I want to see if I can, for the executive administrative assistant, we got a request, see if we can get a slight pay raise for her. But we'll talk about that, when you guys want to talk about salaries.
Who's the executive assistant, Madam
I
Chair?
was wondering, who's the executive administrative assistant?
Stephanie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Councilman Abdullah.
So Mr. Mayor, I know we're not going to be and I know we've gone back and forth as far as the salaries for the different directors and what have you is concerned. And I know we had talked about maybe addressing them all as a whole, because as we've talked about before, we have two different concepts of raises, either on an individual director by director basis or across the board for all directors. And I know we had kind of discussed early on with this budget that we would be discussing that towards the end as far as which way we were going to go. And it seemed to be like kind of a combination of all directors at once. But that being the case, with the administrative assistant is, and obviously I've heard a lot of great things about Mariana, and I'm sure she's doing a great job. and will continue to do a great job. But I do want to address it. I have a little bit of a hard time, honestly, for somebody that's not a director to go into that high of a salary that early on, being the first year. So I just want to state it out there. Again, I'm sure she's doing a great job. And I'm sure she'll continue to do a great job and very well qualified. But I have a little bit of a hard time with that big of a jump. In addition to that, in regards to the director of grants, one of the things that we had discussed at the time, at least from my recollection, that this was going to be on a 6-month basis, if I'm not mistaken. Am I not correct at the time?
Yeah.
Because we had talked about it was going to be for half a year, as I
Yes.
recall. Okay, and then we talked about that after that half-year period, and I'm sure, again, in this particular case, I'm sure he's doing a great job. And I'd heard about the $2 million, I think it's $2 million plus grant that he'd been working on. But we also talked about the time that after this 180-day period, we would reassess and see if this is a position that's needed and effective. Now, being that he's working, one of the primary things that he's working on is on grants. If he's bringing in the money, in this case, like let's say $2 million, and then heck, I have no problem paying him. Obviously, he's well worth every penny. But we said we would assess it after about a 6-month period. And at this particular point, we're not there. So I want to see, Mr. Mayor, where you're at with that as far as your thought process on that particular position. And again, I know Mr. Jamel is more than likely doing a very good job, but we have to do our fiduciary duty and ask these questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Council Chair Pro Tem Abdullah. So as you know, the council, when they put the resolution, we had it for 6 months. And so what we've been doing here is we're tracking, our office is tracking progress for a lot of, especially Director Jamal, trying to see what he's done. So before we move forward, obviously the money we have put it there is just to protect or just to put it there so we can have budget for it. But I am tracking his progress report to see what he's bringing to the city. And I agree with you. We want to make sure whoever we put in any position that they're actually producing for the city, working for the city, working for the residents. And so far, as you know, he has his hands into several grants that he's following through. And with the $2 million grant that he was able to bring, I mean, that was out there and nobody's gone for it. And he checked into it, talked to the FEMA folks and also state police, and he was able to get that grant for us. I mean, within a couple of weeks, he's on board. He's actually went down. He went all the way up to getting the homes identified, the ones we're going to purchase under that grant. He talked to residents. So he's like going full speed on, he's working actually more than what we thought he's going to work. And he's got his hands in pretty much everything, try to help our city. So again, we're going to assess everything, with the council's approval, obviously, once we decide if we're going to go forward, we got to go through and I'm going to present, all the things that he's worked on, and obviously it'd be the council decision to extend or to move forward with that position.
So let me clarify. So is the $2 million grant, I know it was applied for, and I've heard multiple comments on it over the last maybe a couple of months. Is the money in our hands, in our account? Do we have it?
No, we
or
have
is
to.
It still in the process?
Yeah, it's in the process. So we have to first come up with a proposal, which he's actually working on. So we haven't gotten the money yet. But before you get the money, you have to identify to see, okay, which homes, which he already did. We said we're working on trying to get a proposal drafted so we can submit to FEMA with all the homes that we have. So it's in progress right now. So we're actually a lot further with this grant that we had in the past 2 grants that we had that obviously you guys were part of, that you guys were aware of, which ones I'm talking about. One that was it was not complete. When he came into the office, when he assumed the position, the first thing that he did, he was actually fighting fires, trying to get the stuff that was delinquent from the previous person that was working on this grant. So we were, I mentioned it to the council. he saved us from a huge catastrophe with the state police and also with the FEMA folks, because stuff was not submitted, and there was a delinquency letter from state police that we were delinquent, and I did mention that to the council. Myself and my chief of staff met with state police. We spent almost an hour and a half with state police, and we pretty much pled with them to see if they can give us an extension that, hey, we're on board, we're in compliance, we want to make sure that we get everything on track. And they thought we just pretty much took the money and we didn't submit anything. There was nothing submitted. Everything that was submitted to state police was out of whack. So we had to go back. We had to start everything all over again to submit the paperwork to state police. So he helped us with that as well. So right now I can tell you, he's done a lot, even without the $2 million that he was able to get for us. He built a good relationships with the FEMA team and also state police. So they're just giving him pretty much any information he needs to get more grants. So he's been an asset.
But again, Mr. Mayor, and honestly, we gotta be careful with the verbiage that we use, because we keep saying, because I've heard it mentioned multiple times, the grant that he got for us, but it's still not official. So I just want to, because I don't want somebody to get the impression that we actually have the grant in our hands. It's something he's working on, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We do have, okay, the grant, they give us the grant, but we have to submit. You don't get the money right away. So you have to submit what you're going to spend the money on. So obviously the grant is there. So we have to submit all the homes that we're going to purchase under that grant. Then once we submit it, it gets, then we start, we start paying up for these homes. We will get the money. So they don't give you the $2 million up front. It's going to be in stages as the previous grants. So you submit something, you get that. Then you submit something
similar
else.
To Hanovers? Similar to Hanover?
Yeah. Same thing as we did on Hanover. So we identified, numerous homes that residents already agreed. So it's going full speed now. We're trying to get the money for that. So it was submitted. So we're just waiting to see what we hear now. But I mean, it is in full speed trying to get that $2 million for those homes. And there's several grants also after that, because ideally, we got to try to get the residents in the flood area out of those homes, because I mean, that they're getting a lot of flooding in their basements, even their homes are flooding. So we're trying to clear that area around the Ecorse Creek.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. The grant that we're discussing right now, is that the one that was supposed to be approved by us last Tuesday? Because it expired Wednesday, I thought, of last week.
No, it said the reason why it doesn't expire, we have to submit for it, and we did submit for it. It's not expired. We submitted for it.
We didn't lose it. Because I thought
so
council has to approve it, right?
I'm sorry, Council Chair. You have to write a letter of intent, let them know that we are proceeding with this, and they are aware that we're proceeding, because we are submitting the homes that we're purchasing under that grant.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Councilman Muscat.
Yeah, the grant writer and compliance director is something that I've wanted ever since I was a council member 6 years ago. And we've all talked about a grant writer in the past. We all wanted one. And now we have one. We have one with a vast knowledge and experience in doing these. And to me, he kind of works for city council, because if we have any issues like we did a year or two ago when the contract issue came up, and one side was saying they had a contract, the other one said it wasn't the contract, we have at least someone we can go to find out what's going on. This is a big deal to me to have something like this, no matter who it is. But I can pick up the phone and call this director, say, hey, look, we've got this contract coming up. What's going on with it? That person should be sitting there as an observer to let us know exactly what's going on, because let's face it, city council gets a big contract. How do we read it all? How do we know what went on, what was negotiated, what wasn't negotiated? So I believe it's a very important position, and it's well worth the money, because and let's face it, we all know the headaches we had with even the Hanover project. we had a lot of headaches there. We had a lot of complaints from the people who had sold their house. We don't want to eliminate this sort of stuff. So, and as far as the administrative assistant, this person's got, a few degrees under her belt also. And, I remember Councilman Abdullah talking about people with degrees should be getting paid what they're worth. And I believe that this person is worth it. So that's my opinion on it. And we'll be able to discuss it more at budget wrap up. Thank you.
And I don't know if you want me to answer your question. Should I answer them, Council Chair?
Why? Go ahead. It's up to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Muscat. So I guess two things. You mentioned, I guess, the last one about the salaries with the education. She does have a degree, and also the chief of staff has 2 master's degrees. I just want to, and some of you looked at her resume. She does have 2 masters, and Stephanie has a degree as well, a bachelor's degree. And with the other thing that you mentioned about compliance, and I shared that with the council when I assumed office. We found a letter that was sent by the state treasury, and I disclosed it to the council. So Mr. Jamal, the director for the grants, he's been helping us with that. He's actually talked to also the state, trying to make sure that we're in compliance. And the biggest problem that we had is the procurement procedure. There was no procurement procedure. It was chaotic with the way contracts were issued. I can give you an example. There's a company that somebody, and I don't want to mention any names, but he was giving contract to this particular company. And even though I sent an email, and I did CC you guys on that email, everything that goes, any contract has to come to my office. But that one particular person kept sending contracts, which is a violation of not just city, but also the state requirements. So Mr. Jamal is actually helping us draft that procedure to make sure that we're transparent on how we issue contracts. And this company was actually doing work. They were full speed on doing work with no contract, no bidding, no RFPs, nothing. So he's helping us trying to make sure that we eliminate any of these contracts being given to companies that people have ties with. And he's actually talked to several municipalities, and I have talked to several municipalities, Westland, Taylor, and Dearborn, trying to see what best practice, trying to benchmark, brainstorm which is the best procedure. So he's really working hard trying to get that procedure. As Councilman Muscat, he is working on compliance, especially with something like that came from the state, as a non-conformance.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Abdul Haq.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to go over the compliance director. Before most of us were on the city council, I want to remind you, we lost $800,000 on the NSP program, the neighborhood stabilization program, and we had to return the money back to the state because the person who was handling didn't know how to handle it. So we need that person with knowledge who can really contact the state and have good relation with FEMA so we can get the most out of FEMA programs. And actually the grant, Mr. Mayor and City Council, it's up to $2.8 million and it's expected to be approved. I believe by September we will have the money in our account. So I see this position is needed because there is lots of deficiencies in Plant Moran audit report every year. And he is working with everybody every department to make sure that we are in compliance and we are correcting all these deficiencies. So that position, even I agree that we said it's for 6 months, but it is reasonable to put this money just in case, that he stays on this job, so the money is there. We don't have to come back and ask for it. And every one of us agreed that he has the knowledge, he has master's degree in finance, he is capable, and he has the experience. The second thing, Mr. Mayor, you reduced the executive secretary, or it's half time. Why?
It's actually, it's the, if you see half, that's what it was listed before, so we didn't change it, so we kept it the same. But we, like I said, you know, I was gonna go over the salaries, you know, increase and also the time. But you know, it's there's contracts coming up with the employee TPOM here. I'm thinking June or so. So I talked to the union president. They're going to be submitting a contract proposal here in the next probably week or two. And I'm hoping that before we get the budget wrap up, we'll have an idea what contract asking for. So that's why, you know, we had the budget is because there's no contract right now from the union.
Okay, you have the part-time 56,500 from 7,500. Why that huge increase, if I am correct?
I don't know which one you're looking at. You have the 43,272.
Page 10, line 4.
Okay, so we have.
Is it a typo error, or there is somebody working part-time, or several people will work
That
part-time?
has, yeah, so we have, she works, you know, Monday through Thursday, and sometimes we bring somebody else to also work.
Who,
Who's
We
work?
had, that was budgeted before from last year, so that's what we had, exactly what we had from last year. So we had two administrative assistants that were working with the previous mayor, and so we're just budgeting for it.
Are you going to bring the same people back?
Well, if we, right now, I'm just assessing everything right now. I'm just protecting for it with a budget, but
Okay.
we haven't got.
Because I see the number is very high for part-times. I rather
Yeah,
have
we're
one
actually-
employee full-time, probably for a lot less than that.
Yeah, we're budgeting the same as what it was for the last several years, you know, just to see, because I'm assessing everything here, trying to see, make whatever adjustments we need to make to cut costs. So it's, you know, better to protect for it and we can remove it later.
Then
It's
you
not
have,
needed.
Mayor, you have $100 for repair and maintenance of equipment. Isn't that very, very low?
Yeah, again, that's what it was before, and I didn't want to put anything down, you know, for, we haven't really, I haven't seen anything that came up, you know, since I've been here. We have a new copy machine. I mean, that's the only thing that we had issues with in the past, but we got a brand new copy machine, so I don't foresee a lot of repairs.
Okay, as for your administrative assistant, I really thank her very much for what she's doing. She has proven that she is a dynamic person working in your office, and we are lucky to have her. And I believe the $75,000 is very justified with a person with 2 master's degree. And thank you.
Thank you. And again, you know, whatever you guys need, you know, we do have an open door policy. I know several council members have reached out to her, and obviously all the directors reach out to her for, there's a lot of things that have been going on, a lot of issues, a lot of concerns. And I've seen several council members come by and talk to her or requesting information. So again, whatever you guys need, we're here for. I just want to make sure we have a good teamwork. You know, anything's required by the council, you know, we're here. You know, we do have an open door policy. And like I said, I've seen most of you come down here on daily basis and, you know, always chit chatting, making sure that you guys have what you need.
Anytime I ask her for anything, she got the information in timely fashion. So I thank her for everything she's doing for the city.
Thank you, Councilman. And, like everybody on the staff is the same, they have the same mentality. So whatever you guys need, let me know or let them know. It doesn't have to go through me, you just go reach out to them directly and they will get you whatever information you guys require.
HR Director Perry has something I think to add in regards to.
I do. Just to help answer your question as well, sir. The half secretary, it's because half of her duties are shared with the ordinance department. So if you go back to the ordinance department, you'll see a half there. So it will keep Stephanie fully employed a full year, but she's split between mayor's office and ordinance and animal control. And then the second thing with regards to part-time, Mr. Ancrap has been returned to the city. His hourly rate on a part-time basis is put into that part-time line. So that's why you will see that it increased as well.
And thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome.
Question, do we know what Mr. Ancrap's hourly rate is? Because we were never made aware of it. Director Perry?
Yeah, sorry. I can confirm it in 2 seconds. I believe $35 an hour. Can you hear me?
Okay. Liz, what is he doing exactly?
So he is doing some public relations stuff. I mean, I'm sure you've seen him I think he's done recent ribbon cuttings. There's some stuff that's been done here. He's been helping with the studio. He's actually on this call right now. I see him.
Yeah.
So he could probably speak better to what he's been doing. Believe me, I've been seeing him almost every day here. So he's been buzzing around.
That's Mr. Ancrap. Go ahead. I'm mute, sir.
Morning, folks. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, my primary role will be public relations communications. A lot of the stuff I was doing before, minus the emergency management work. Actually, I'm kind of serving as a quasi backup for the emergency management. If needed, I can jump in and help out. But primarily, it will be press releases, photography work. In the process of rebuilding the TV studio, and I'm going to be overseeing the programming for that. And in other articles, things of that nature on an as-needed basis.
Okay, thank you.
And also I confirm $35 an hour. That's correct.
Okay,
What I gave you.
thanks.
You're welcome.
We had Hassan Jamal Hassan raise his hand, so I'm going to ask you, I don't know if you still want to speak.
Good morning. Yes, I would like to speak. I've been raising my hand, and I don't appreciate that putting somebody before me when I raise my hand before them.
Well,
Let's go. Okay, let's forward. Thank you. My answer to the question for the council about budgeting. I would like to do maybe a couple seconds. Budgeting 101 is not based on personnel. It's based on position needed. So is this position needed or not? The mayor, we discussed that, our budget committee, we have 5 members. We discussed that and decided that, advised the mayor that this position is needed. Whether it's me, somebody else, this is not the time to discuss personnel. You discuss whether you need this position in the budget or not. So please review Budget 101 when you are doing a budget. Number 2, let's come back now to this particular job, whether it's me or somebody else. This job is responsible for making sure the administration of the grant of the millions of dollars for the city are administered the way it's supposed to, follow up on it, and make sure we don't lose the opportunity to actually use the money for the grant. And in this particular situation, I came on March 8th and I found 2 grants with FEMA. One of them is 2,700,000, about 90% done. The other one, which is dated back to March 15 of 2016, only $3,000 being done on it. So what I did with the help of the mayor's team, including the mayors and other personnel in the mayor's office, including some council members, I tried to safeguard that for the city, not for me, not for any of you, it's for the city. That was actually $2.3 million. It would expire in August of this year. I was trying to mitigate the difficulties with the Michigan State Police and a process which is on your agenda for next Tuesday, 5 homes. Those 5 homes are approved by Michigan State Police prior to my hiring. So I just took it by the horn and move on with it and facilitated. You know, I used actually non-eligible law firm that I found it being used, and we can't even collect the expenditures of that law firm, which is a great law firm, but it wasn't eligible. So the city lost all the eligible actually activities because of we couldn't document that law firm. Sorry, it's a loss for the city. I'm not gonna take more time, but I'm gonna say one more thing. We probably can lose the opportunity also to claim other services for the city because I am not able to find documentation to support those particular, expenditures that we spend. On your agenda for next week, Madam Chair, you will find that there is a two different requests to go on alphabet to just make sure that we are in compliance as a city. I'm doing this job to benefit the city, not to benefit me. I'm just an employee, an appointee of the mayor. I could be, I could go somewhere else in a couple of months. So this is a position you need, especially with compliance. Compliance is very important because the city, in too many different aspects, is not in compliance. And I'm sorry to say that, but the truth sometimes is good to start. You have to establish what we call transparent process as a baseline. And this particular person will not only work with the mayor executive team, is also part of the city council, part of the treasury department. You know, everybody comes together and you need somebody with institutional knowledge who knows and did in the past, work like that. So you can incorporate education, institutional knowledge about the city, about the budgeting in the city. Give you an example. We have right now 2 on your agenda for next week. You have two actually bid or 2 RFPs, whatever you want to call it, for legal. And that we can reduce that to 1 because 1 bid will be enough. This is what the compliance person do, is actually look what's going on, review it, and bring the best for the city. Whether it's me, somebody else, I would like you to review the position the mayor put there, budget for it, because if it's budgeted for it, that position will be established. You don't need that, those like you process those resolutions to hire somebody. It's a mayor position. If you approve within the budget, he's approved to hire, or to appoint anybody he wants. Again, with some advice from the council. With that, if there is any other question that I can answer you, I'll appreciate you asking now.
Thank you, Hassan.
Is there any further questions? I have Councilman Abdullah. Did you still have a question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So I had a question for the mayor, and Councilman Abdullah, previous to me started with that question also. I had also little notes on my budget here concerned in regards to part-time. Now, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned that this had been in a previous budget and it wasn't, it was not a part of the previous budget. Even if you go back to 2018-19, it was never on there. And then we had budgeted, the amended budget in 2020-21 was for 7,500 for that position, and the activity through this past few weeks is 4,430, but then it was a drastic jump to 56,500. Two questions I have for you. Number one, if you could clarify a little bit more, and I'm not sure if it's going to be you or if it's going to be our director, Elizabeth Perry, that specific position you mentioned was Bob Ancrap, which is a very nice guy, not questioning him as a person, great guy. But I want to know specifically what that 56,500 is used for. And then the second question was, if we find out or we determine it's absolutely needed, is it not a better idea to switch that person to possibly a full-time position, provided it's a necessity in our city? If you don't mind answering those two questions, please, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so for the breakdown, see if Director Elizabeth can answer that. But for the position, Mr. Ancrep is not interested in working full-time. You just basically what we need him is to we need with the studio or the council chambers, getting it up to speed and up to code, especially with COVID. So he's taken the lead on that one, and he's definitely not interested in a full-time position. And I don't think we need a full-time position for that particular person, since we have emergency manager Lee Gavin. He's doing the emergency manager's position. So I just wanted to make sure, especially right now with COVID, Mr. Lee Gavin is really busy with trying to get everything for just COVID related issues, and anything that possibly that can pop up in our city for as an emergency management situation. So I wanted Mr. Ancrep to actually work on the media stuff and just have him concentrate on the media portion of it, which does not require somebody to be here full time. And that's the reasoning behind that. I wanted to make sure, as you know, with the COVID numbers on the rise, I wanted Mr. Gavin to concentrate on that portion, and he's helping a lot with the center, or with the COVID vaccines and other vaccinations that come up. He's working on that, and there's an audit that he's just completed. So there's a lot of things that Mr. Gavin is working on for the emergency management role. But again, that position is not a full-time for Mr. Ancrep, and that's why we wanted to make sure that we protect for just a part-time pay for himself and not a full-time pay.
But it's still a lot of money though, 56,500 for somebody to be working part-time. Honestly, I have some concerns with that. And I just want to make sure it's a justified amount.
Okay, so we are protecting for it. Again, we just want to make sure that we have protect for it because of the amount of work we have to do right now to get the studio up to speed, and I know that the council discussed, both the council chambers and also the studio that we have at the Berwyn. So he is working on both of them. So when we need him, he's been coming here trying to work on both the studio and also the council chambers, because the council chambers, he has to retrofit not just like place for us to sit, for you guys to sit down, but also the cameras. They're trying to for the electrical work, and so he's been here several times with several companies, trying to get an RFP for them to do the work. So it's not just adjusting chairs, moving furnitures, working on the walls. There's a lot of tear up that they have to do, and he's been working with the companies that are doing the IT stuff. So we have to protect for it, especially this year. because of, we're trying to get the studio up and running, or I'm sorry, the council chamber, we're gonna call it Studio B. But we're trying to get everything up to speed. So when we do start meeting in person, which looks like it's gonna be probably sometime in June, that you guys have a place to sit and we have the cameras, we have the social distance and everything else. So we want to protect for the salary, for the part-time, but again, you know, if we don't use it, we don't use it. We move it back, you know, to the capital outlay. But right now, instead of going back to the council and requesting more money for the part-time, then, you know, what, to the $56,000, we want to protect for it.
Muscat?
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, at 20, part-time is usually about 20 hours. Somebody working 20 hours, and that's about $36,400. And, you know, we're looking at $20,100 difference between the 56,000 and what you would normally pay a part-timer. And I think that's a good buffer of 20,000 in case something does come up that a person of his qualifications can come in and help us with. And to me, it's reasonable. And let's not forget, the money that's not used goes back to the general fund. But saying that, in the past, I don't think I've ever received a breakdown of monies returned to the general fund from unused money that's in the budget. I'd like to see that in the coming years, that city council members get to see what has been returned to the general fund when money is not used in each department. So that's a little food for thought for the administration. That's something that the public should know, what's been returned. So we know that we can make adjustments to the budget in later years saying, hey, we don't need this, or we do need this. So that's at least something that I'd like to see going forward.
Next, we have Director HR Perry.
Thank you. So a few other things. So yes, part of it is Mr. Ancraft's hourly rate with the amount of hours. You know, he has been working out, you know, around 28 hours most recently. So Mr. Muscat's right. It gives a buffer. He's working, you know, he works between 20 and 28 hours. In addition, we've also had a part-time clerical person help support if someone's been out of the office or when there's been additional work, you know, with telephone calls or whatever the, you know, the season kind of calls for in the mayor's office. And then in addition to that, we've had an intern, and we have a current intern right now. So we only pay our interns around $12 an hour. The other clerical workers about $15 an hour. So it's not just Mr. Ancraft. This also allows for some additional clerical internship support as well.
Thank you.
Next on my list is Councilman Abdel Haq.
Liz, Director Perry, she answered most of the question. I'm just calculating. If he's working at 28 hours, multiply by 35, that's around 1,000. Multiply that by 52, it comes very close to 50,000. But she answered most of the question. Thank you.
Got it.
Next, I have the comptroller, and I've lost him on here. I'm trying to find him. He had his hand raised. And I just want to remind everybody, when you raise your hand, I do write you down on a list, and I do go in order. The only time I skipped someone is because Elizabeth Perry kept raising her hand, and I felt that what she had was urgent to what the mayor was currently talking about. So go ahead, please.
Okay, I just a kind of a addition to that response for Mr. Councilman Muscat. You mentioned like we would like to know what the balance from leftover from last year is. Right now, we track it in the when we get. I'm sorry, I have a form where we track it where we get from Plant Moran. We do a audit. I'm sorry, my mind's going all different places, but we do an audit, so it's in the audit report, and I can get that to you. So like at the end of the year, we track it that way, but. You know, we're also in discussions to find a way to maybe put that in in the report for you guys, and you know, we can track it as we take away from it. So there's a way that we can track it throughout the year as well, and we'll find a way to do that if that's something you guys would like to see.
That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Next, we have Chief of Staff Hernandez.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I just wanted to clarify a few things. As Elizabeth mentioned, we do have a buffer there as well for interns and clerical help in case it's needed. At the moment, as she mentioned, we do have an intern who's working just a few hours a week, helping us with rebuilding the website and reorganizing some of the information that's there because it was very outdated, as well as helping with a bunch of clerical things in the office, just documentation and different things like that. So I do think that the 56,000 is justifiable because it is not all for Mr. Ancrap, who, by the way, is doing a lot of work, including the news magazine that's coming out shortly. So that was also a big part of the work that he has done the past few months. But if there are any additional questions with regards to the work that me or Mr. Jamal are doing, I think that the reason why these positions are integral to the situation that the city is in right now, it's because we're kind of in a building stage. We're creating a lot of documentation and a lot of processes that didn't exist before. And that's why the additional time is there, the additional people is there, is because you have to build a foundation in order for the system to function properly. And a lot of those foundations were cracked, as we have seen with the audit reports, as we have seen with the treasury letter. And that's what we have to clean up this upcoming year. And after that, you can reconsider what the positions will look like and how many people you're going to need there. But at the moment, there's just an overwhelming amount of work that everybody's doing.
I think that's it for questions. We are running a little over time here, so I'm going to move on to our cable TV emergency management coordinator, Lee Gavin.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So in regards to emergency management in cable, I was going to do the emergency management, the short few items. And then Bob Ancrap is there. And Bob was going to kind of go over the cable. He's kind of taken over a lot of the cable responsibilities. So with emergency management, all the years past, most of that money most of that money comes out of the police department budget. So the salary would come out of the police department. When Bob, 10, 15 years that he was working under the police department, everything would come out of the PD's budget. There's really not that much under emergency management. Now that I'm up at City Hall, if there's supplies or minor stuff like that, I just take that out of the mayor's office, the closet. They have a little supply closet. So as the supplies, there's really not too much that goes with emergency management. There's a salary
What page is that on? Excuse me, what page is that on?
That's 44.
Thank you.
So everything is under cable, TV, not emergency management.
Point of order, please let him present his budget.
Well, yeah, but I need to find it, Council Chair. So that's all I'm asking. I need to know if it's all combined or not. And that's all I need to see.
So Mr. Muscat, the only thing with emergency management would be the salary, and that would be on the police department page. Let me see if I can, it would be on their personnel page.
2930.
Where it's got, all the, I don't have the page number.
2930.
Okay. So you'd have the salary there with the police department. Everything else through emergency management, I would get through the mayor's office. If there is any training or anything like that, and I submitted the bills, then that would come out of the police department, budget. That's how we worked with it for Bob. If he went to training, emergency management up in Traverse City or whatever, the police department would reimburse him. So in regards to emergency management, there's really no budget. if we need anything, that would come out of the police department, supplies or equipment, whatever. So then with cable, I see you're there, Bob. If you wanted to go line by line, I'll be here to try to help you if there's any questions. You know, there's just, after speaking with Chief of Staff Mariana, you know, the newsletter expense is put back in there under the cable budget, but everything else, you know, Bob, if you want to talk about salaries or anything, that would cover it.
Is muted.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Good morning again, folks. Cable TV operations, obviously, it's been a trying couple of years from what I understand with the cable TV operations. The studio was essentially dead in the water for all practical purposes. So our biggest goal for the coming year, number one, is to get the council chambers updated so we can do some good broadcasts in there. And as the mayor mentioned earlier, that will now be officially known as Studio B because if we use it as a quote studio, it will qualify for PEG funding for the upgrading. So again, if you hear the term Studio B being thrown about, you'll know that's what it's for. Okay. So anyway, going on a kind of line by line basis, part-time salaries would be for excuse me, for two part-time individuals. That would be Angela and Stan. I think you know both of them. Okay. I believe, Mariana, I have part of my salary in there as well. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. No? Okay, all right. So that's strictly for the part-timers, for Angela and Stan. Okay. Communication fees. Lee, help me out with that a little bit on the communication fees. Is that
You know, I think that was commission fees and
or commission fees?
Bob, on a lot of this, you know, we might have a $500 or $1,000 here. If it's not used, it goes back to, you know, to the budget at the end of the year. There's one line, $500 for that senior video, and we haven't done that. That gentleman that used to help you, he hasn't been around. So, you know, most likely that 500 would just go back into the budget at the end of the year.
All right. Okay. That takes us down. Whoop, I'm sorry. That takes us down to supplies. Again, typical things. Do we need printer paper, or do we need to replace a handheld microphone or anything of that nature? That's what we're using that account for. Okay. As Mr. Gavin mentioned, the senior video will probably go back into the central budget. My understanding, when I was here 2.5 years ago, there was very little programming being done back then. I understand there's less now. So again, I think that one's probably a moot point. Okay. Member dues, that would be for primarily for our Adobe software systems. We use Adobe Premiere and photo editor for all our video and photo editing work. That's a subscription type thing. Again, obviously necessary because that's those are the vehicles we use for our primarily our video editing. The nice thing about the subscription on those is that we always have an updated version of the software. Okay, whereas if we buy it for $1,000 or whatever the case is, within a year or so, it becomes outdated. This way, with a subscription basis, they update our our version on a regular basis automatically. So it's that has proven to be a very good way to go. I implemented that well into my my prior life before I retired, and it's worked quite well. Okay. As was mentioned, the newsletter expenses, they've gone up a little bit. Obviously, we're $30,000 this year. Paper, postage rates obviously have increased drastically, but we're I think we're pretty much on line with that. The new newsletter will be coming out later this month. I'm pleased to report that it's going to be a little bit bigger, so it's going to cost a little bit more money, obviously. But on the other side, we have, I believe, 19 or 20 advertisers in at this time, and we're bringing in roughly $9,000 in revenue for this newsletter. So that's I think that's a success, and a lot of credit goes to our front office, Mayor Bazzi and Mariana. They've been very aggressively working with their contacts and helping promote that, and that's been a great benefit. Okay, professional fees. Again, in case if we need to consult with our attorneys, anything of that nature, consult with individuals on any technical needs, things of that nature. That's where those funds would come from. All right. Any questions so far at this point?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, first of all, I have Councilman Abdullah, please.
So this question is for Bob Ancrap.
Yes.
Two things. First of all, in regards to the newsletter, I know it had gone on every single year, and I've seen it was missing from the 2019, 20, 2021 activity, but then it's back in. So is that just moved from one segment to another, or because it was there, it's been there every year? But you're budgeting 30,000 for it right now, but it wasn't on last year's budget.
So, Councilman Abdullah, in the past, we had that concern with PEG fees. So the prior administration took that cost of the newsletter out of the cable budget, and it come out of another account somewhere in the city.
Okay, so it's just been moved.
Remember, there was some discussion on PEG fees,
Right.
what the money could be used for. So they wanted to make sure that everything was up in front. So it came out of another account. The administration now is going to put it back in this account.
And then my main question is, I'm really concerned about the studio. I noticed the studio funds went from 500,000 to 100,000, and I totally disagree with this particular direction, because if there was ever a time to build it, would be right now during COVID, where there's almost no activity, no studio activity, no recordings, nothing. So if there's ever a time to finish it and do whatever needs to be done, it'd be right now, versus when, God willing, COVID is either over or at least way less. At that particular time, it's going to be, that's when you're going to want stuff, put out as far as different videos and what have you is concerned. And our studio would not be built. So in my opinion, I would keep that in the budget, and I would start working on this ASAP right now to build it out to where we can start putting out stuff as soon as possible. So I'm not sure if that's Bob Ancrap or Chief Gavin, but one of you two, if you could answer that.
Well, first and foremost, we are attacking the council chambers, or Studio B, if you will. It's pretty good sized project, and the intent is, as soon as we get that wrapped up, we're moving along into the main studio. They go hand in hand. Okay.
Yeah, but you won't have nothing budgeted for it at that particular point, because you're not asking for the 500,000 again.
Yeah, well, I think the gist of that, David, is the fact that it's coming from the PEG funds, and realistically, right now, we haven't put the RFPs out for the main studio yet. So again, it's guesswork at this point to see exactly how much that's going to cost.
Well, the concern I've got is we've been talking about the studio for, off of my recollection, probably no less than 3 years, if not 4 or even 5. And there's sports stadiums built in 1 year. So something's wrong here, honestly.
No.
I don't know if somebody's dropping the ball. I don't know if it's not a focus of our administration, but I think it's a very, very important factor that especially a lot of seniors do watch a lot of those shows, and that is the way to get the public information out. So I think we got to focus on it a little bit more. It's been, again, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years that this has been talked about. And from what I understood from Siham Jafer, our previous coordinator over there, that the studios that we have are just about useless. But nothing's moved forward. I'm getting really concerned, especially right now with it being taken off the budget.
Yeah, well, obviously I can't speak to the last 2.5 years. I don't know what was or was done or what was or wasn't discussed. I can tell you right now, we're looking into costs quite, and that's one of my priorities. One of my biggest priorities is getting these up and running. Again, having only been here for about a month and a half or so, again, kind of getting started all over again. But I can assure you, it's going to happen.
Councilman Abdullah, the prior budgets, we did put in, the 450,000. We got some estimates, and we're having that discussion on the PEG fees, what could be used. So I think back the last couple of years, people were just hesitant to move forward. So now I think the administration decided to do the council chamber first. And once they get that, then it'll be their choice. They know that the PEG fees are there. I don't know if you have to put the PEG fees in the budget or if they're always accessible. Maybe someone in the administration would know that, but supposedly the money's there. And once they get the council done, the studio, then they would improve the Berwyn facility.
Yeah, folks, there are a lot of improvements we want to make. Obviously, technological stuff. The other thing that I would really like to see in the coming year is bringing an individual on to run the studio on a part-time basis. Okay. We're going to have a brand new studio. It's going to be brand new technology. It's going to be a little more complicated probably than what we've experienced in the past. Again, if we're going to invest those types of resources in the studio operations, I really think we need to invest in a full-time individual. Probably, God willing, I will, and I'll be able to help where I can. But again, let's face facts. I'm a part-timer. I'm probably not going to be here forever, and you're going to need someone who you can depend on to keep this stuff up and running, keep it maintained, and keep these operations functioning.
Councilman Abdullah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions. The salaries for part-time. It looks like we are forgetting that there was federal court in September 2019, which decided that the salaries cannot be paid from the PEG. And if Mr. Mayatki is with us, I hope he put his 2 cents in it. So I do disagree that the 78,000 should come not from the PEG, it should come from the franchise fees, not from the PEG. And I believe you all remember that there was an opinion written by Mr. Mayatki, and the federal court, and I believe in Virginia, was clear-cut decision that the money should come from the franchise or someplace else. So this item should be charged to the general fund because the franchise fee goes to the general fund. Otherwise, we will be in violation of a federal court decision issued on September 2019. I believe that we have enough money to have A1 studio to give our resident what they paid for. And I hope the administration and the city council will move as soon as possible to do this project during COVID, because this is the best time to do it. Now, the second thing, $75,000 for emergency manager. Is Mr. Lee Gavin going to get the $20,000 increase in his salary? Or this is just to establish salary for future, for the position? Mr. Mayor or Elizabeth, whoever can
Oh,
answer.
hold on. Let me unmute the mayor. That's probably a question he wants to answer. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I know that I wanted to answer some previous questions that were for the Council Chair Pro Tem asked that question about the studio that currently at the Berwyn Center. So right now, ideally, because of COVID, we actually we decided to upgrade the council chambers first, and as mentioned by Mr. Ankrep, call it Studio B. And it's going to have all the equipment there. And also we're going to have a small spot. So if we need to broadcast to anything, just for the short time, then we can actually use the council chambers that one, as soon as you walk in to your left, we got to put that area just dedicated. So if we need to broadcast something, we can broadcast it there. And later on, we can revisit the actual studio itself, at the Berwyn. That's going to take a lot of work. And as you, all of you are well aware, some of the seniors in the past, there was a lot of concerns that they were taking room from their recreational area. And we're not going to jump into something like that. We got to talk to the seniors to see what they want first. And the proposal that was sent before, it was actually taking part of the recreation area out to make the studio. So we're not going to do that. So again, as Mr. Ankrep mentioned, he's going to request that when we do the budget wrap up about trying to make that one of the position, Angela's position, full time, so she can do a better assessment to see what's actually required for the studio, the actual studio itself. But in the meantime, we have to concentrate on the council chambers because time. I know they're going to open up the state, for in-person meetings. And before we do that, we're full speed ahead, trying to get it done. We have Mr. Ankrep, Lee Gavin, and also Mr. Deeb is working on trying to get company. We've had several companies come in. They did an assessment on actually the council chambers, and several times, people been here trying to figure out what's the best solution, what needs to be updated. We know there's issues probably with asbestos, probably lead paint and all kinds of stuff. Stuff has been here probably like 30, 40 years. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So for the studio, excuse me, for the studio itself, I don't think we're going to get into it this year. Our main objective right now, our mission is to get your council chambers done first, and then we can concentrate. And if we have to, we get it done early on. And, if it's not, this year's budget, we can do it next year's budget or even do a budget amendment since it's going to come out of the PEC fees for the studio itself. And I think the other question, lost my train of thought. What was that? Somebody asked a question about, what was that question? Somebody else. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Did you, who asked the question?
I had a question as to why at least my question was the delay in the studio, why there was so much delay in the studio.
Well,
you kind of answered it right now.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Again, I'm sure there was a lot of concerns by the seniors that I know I received a lot of calls, when I was when we were on council, I was on council, and I'm sure you guys have too, when they were talking about taking one of their rooms or cutting their room. And so we're not going to do that. So we have to revisit that. And again, this is not going to be an overnight project. We have to make sure that we do the right thing. And that's why we're concentrating right now because of the situation that we're in with COVID. We're going to concentrate on the council chambers right now. And that's going to be a big project. Obviously, that's the situation also, the way that it's that place. I mean, obviously, it's a mess. It's an embarrassment for the city council and also anybody to be broadcasting from there. So we do have to update it, not just because of COVID, but just in general.
Folks on the,
I have, excuse me, I have a list of the seniors signed and gave to me over a year ago that they do not want that billiard room touched at all. They're really adamant about that.
At that rate.
They are just really, you will not find one person that will agree to let you take 1 inch out of that room. That's just their room. They've had it for years. They meet there. That's like their little club. And they play pool.
And
realistically, there was never any reason at all to go in to take that room over. We have a classroom right next to the studio. My plan, if it goes through, all right, is to expand the studio a little bit, but we're going to be going into that classroom that we already have. The original proposal was to build a large enough area for a live studio audience of 30 plus people. Let's face it, folks, this is a local cable TV studio. We're not building a theater. We're building a small local origin cable TV operation here. So again, we have more than enough room with the 2 rooms that we have right now to do the job well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Muscat.
Madam Chair, I didn't get an answer to my question.
Okay, go ahead and ask it again.
The $75,000 for emergency manager, is this an increase in salary for Lee Gavin, or it is just to establish base salary for the position?
Okay, so that was the question. Sorry, Councilman Abdul Haq.
That's all right.
This obviously the position again, going around, trying to check and other municipality salaries that's compatible with other city salaries. And I mean, we're not giving the person, that salary, obviously it's for the position itself. So we want to establish to make sure that that's the salary for that position.
Okay. My last question. Is the Raymond company who's doing the forensic audit auditing the PEG fees?
I actually sent Mr. Was it Mark, Mr. Kettner, several emails in the last, since I've been mayor. Everything that he's requesting, I'm making sure that he has all the information. I've sent them at least probably a dozen emails with attachments that I'm working with Plant Moran. So everybody's working together right now, trying to get all the information that is required, not just to proceed with the forensic audit, but just to make sure that they have everything in place to complete it. And that's what we mentioned earlier about the attorney fees, for the council. Obviously, the reason why we had that is because there was a resistance in the past administration. And right now, I'm actually being proactive and sending everything that Mr. Kettner needs, for the forensic audit. And Mr. Miyake is on board. And again, everybody's working for the city in the best interest of the city.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
Time, we are running over. I'm going to continue with the list, but I'm going to ask to keep it to questions. I have Councilman Muscat. Go ahead, please.
I guess this would be a question. I'm just saying, I'm hoping that the money that we're spending on any of these projects, that we're in compliance with the law, that we don't take PEG fee money illegally to pay for anything, including salaries. So, and I agree with Council Chair about the seniors. Her and I both went there. They were very upset about losing their room, and I'm glad to hear that Mr. Ancraft concluded what we always thought, that there was plenty of room as they clean it up and get rid of all the stuff that was wedding dresses and pianos and everything there that didn't belong there. So I agree with Council Chair Maxwell Malinowski on that. But just let's make sure that we don't use PEG fees for anything that's not supposed to be used for. Thank you.
No, Councilman, we're going to be watching that very closely. There's no question about that.
Sure you will.
We're pretty well versed. We have access to 2 attorneys. Number one, Mr. Lato, who we've worked with for years. Also, we have a membership in the Michigan Association of Broadcasters. that gives us free legal access to their attorneys as well.
Thank you.
So we're gonna
Next,
be
I have-
watching it very closely.
Next, I
One
have
more thing,
Chief.
if I can pop in. But
He's breaking up pretty bad.
Yeah, your cable, your internet connection's bad like mine was. Until I got it changed. You keep freezing up. He's froze. All right, next we have Chief of Staff Hernandez. Go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you. I just wanted to clear everybody's mind with where the money is coming for a lot of this project. So the reason it was taken out of the capital outlay, it's because that's what the PEG funds are for. So the PEG funds, sorry about my dogs, are exclusive for the capital outlay equipment and all of the materials that we're going to be using for those studios. Right now, we have over $1 million in PEG funds, so we truly don't believe that the $500,000 in capital outlay funds is necessary because we have so much money in the PEG funds already. As far as the salaries, including the possibility of adding a full-time person instead of having 2 part-timers, having 1 full-time, 1 part-time, would come primarily from the revenues that we get from the reimbursement from cable Comcast, cable WOW, and AT&T, which adds up to about $700,000. The priority of those reimbursements that we get is to use them for our cable company and for our communications. They have been used in the past for multiple reasons, including just general fund expenses. But again, we want to prioritize that if we do need to add that full-time person, those funds will be coming primarily from Comcast, WOW, and AT&T reimbursements. So I hope that that clarifies a little bit of like where you will see those changes in the budget if they do come up during the wrap up next week, which they probably will. You will see an increase in the funds from the appropriations from the fund balance. That's where the PEG money would come in. And it has been the recommendations of our budget compliance director to include all of the PEG funds that are currently available in that appropriations from fund balance. So that means the money that we had before will show up there, and that's what's going to be used for all of this renovations for the studios. So I hope that that makes a little bit of sense. If you have any further questions, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Jamal can explain how that's going to look exactly on the budget itself. But it would be account number 101-100-699.000.
Mr. Ancraft, did you want to respond? You had your hand.
yeah, just one quick comment. A little bit of a commercial for you folks. We were talking about getting the council chambers or Studio B done first. I'll tell you, you folks are going to be blown away when you see what's going to happen in that room. We're going to be using robotic camera. Saw us standing in the back of the room with one camera sweeping back and forth. And if you're watching it on TV, it almost makes you sick with emotion. Okay, we're going to be doing a 4-camera setup, robotic cameras. As the mayor mentioned, we're going to have a small area up on the north wall for a mini studio in there where we can do interviews, first class. Just a lot of new technology that is really going to it's really going to show up when the residents watch these shows. That's it.
Councilman Baydoun, you had a question? Like I said, we are running way over, so.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much. And I know this is the first I speak, so I've been trying to keep things to limited. One of my questions is, I know I was just walking with Mr. Gavin. We were going through City Hall. I was kind of looking inside the chambers and I seen that we had a spot also for what was the elections. And if Mr. Gavin is there, maybe he can also chime in. I believe it was locked, so I couldn't actually go in to see it. But from what I was being told, we're using a lot of storage for a lot of empty space for the actual election spots. And I know that you need to have, spots for the elections, but maybe we can back up and expand our chambers as well. I don't know if that's something that we've actually even looked at or seen that we can do. I see a lot of people nodding their heads. So I'm going to potentially just stop there and not bring that one up no more. My second thing is, can we use the money from the PEG to go ahead and get the studio rolling? And if so, why don't we just do them both simultaneously? While we're working on the chambers, have the same contractor bring more employees and have them work on the studio. But I mean, if that's something that we have to also micromanage above it, I'm not sure. I'm not a contractor. I'm not the one putting this together. But maybe if that's something we can also look into, just so we can be proactive in getting both of them done simultaneously.
Got Hassan Jamal next, and I think he'll answer a lot of your questions. Let's unmute him and see what he has to tell us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. Very quick overview. Mr. Ancrab, you remember when there is no money for you to buy equipment. It's not far away from your memory. And all of a sudden, the city found $750,000. Nobody knows from where. It was all in the budget. PEG now have almost $1.24 million available for the city. Not for you, not for me, for the city. They paid that, the resident paid that over the years on their invoices. 1% is actually allocated by order of the Congress of the United States with approval of the state of Michigan. 1% segregated of those bills, restricted to capital only improvement. And the city were deprived all these years from even buying any equipment that Mr. Ancrab used to ask for. Mr. Ancrab, is that correct or not?
Sorry, Mr. Ancrab, you have muted yourself. You need to unmute
Okay.
yourself, please.
Sorry,
Is that correct, Mr. Ancrab?
That is my understanding, yes, that there is a portion of restricted versus unrestricted funds.
Okay, you wasn't given the money to buy and upgrade the studio.
That is
That's
correct.
the bottom line.
That
Now
is correct.
moving on, we, the budget committee, which is included the mayor, the chief of staff, myself, the controller, the assistant control or the deputy controller, Ms. Williams, and our director of human resources, Ms. Elizabeth Sobota. We discussed that issue, and we came down to a kind of, advice to the mayor collectively that since we have that much money, and this is answering Councilman Abdallah, that the reason you have deteriorated, unbelievably not upgraded, it's not even, you can call a studio, because the money was not actually allocated to do that. Now, who was the fault? You asked who dropped the ball. The city government consists of two branches, legislator and administrator. So whoever you want to put it, go ahead. The money was there. The money was shown every year on the audit report. So the council could have seen it. You could have asked for it, and you could have said what we are doing with the money. Now, that's why, I'm going to give you a very, very bright
Point of order,
future.
Council Chair.
That
I don't think this is the time for this.
Okay,
Okay,
the bright future, yes, you have the money.
Sir,
You have the money. You have over $1.2 million. And that's, again, a position of compliance necessary for the city.
This is not
Whoever
the
it
time to
is.
blame.
okay, Mr.
Thank you very
Jamal?
much, Madam Chair. I thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let me see if I got anybody else in here. That's it. Okay, we can move on. Next on the agenda is the assessor's office with Assessor Fiocco. Go ahead, please. Where are they? I gotta unmute you. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. It's Kim Comer and Tony Floro. We're just figured we two birds, one stone, same room. So you've got the information in front of
Tom,
you.
we just started the assessors thing. This shouldn't take but 5 or 10 minutes, so I would
All right,
suggest.
somebody needs to mute themselves who's talking.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so you've got the information that was submitted with the updated for the increase in the contract amount, which was the rate of inflation by the state for the year. And then the only other thing on there really was the budget for the supplies. And then there was one other item that we didn't, must have slipped my mind when we had the initial meeting for it. But we have a set of tablets in our department that was approved by City Council back in 2019 for use out in the field. And the issue with that is the only way we can use them in the field, the way they're currently set up, is if we have some kind of data plan. Presently, it would be either me trying to milk my own personal cell phone data plan, but I don't want to ask my employees to use their personal cell phones as hotspots. So we were just kind of looking at purchasing some type of plan through possibly T-Mobile or something along those lines. It looks like the couple different data plans could run anywhere from $10 per tablet a month to about $20 per tablet a month, with setup and fees and all that stuff, is taxes are usually additional, but there's only 2 tablets. And so that's the only other additional thing that isn't written down on the budget thing that was sent over.
Would that fall under our budget, or would that be in a different budget that would cover that internet access?
Yeah, I was unsure if any other departments have any other kind of data plans where it was something that we could maybe just add two lines to, or 2 tablets to, because I'm not really sure how anyone else handles their data plan throughout the city. But yeah, those were the only items we had.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Are you done?
That's really
okay.
Okay, yeah.
We really don't
Next, we have Councilman Abdullah. Go ahead, please.
Well, mine's just a statement. I can just tell you as a realtor myself, and then also in my 7 years of experience on the city council, this has been the most stable that we've had at the assessor's office, most stability, I should say, that we've had at the assessor's office. We've had, as you remember, I was on the tax review board prior to being on the city council, and we had it seemed like an assessor every other month, a new assessor. This has been the most stabilized assessor's office, and they've done a great job. And I can tell you myself, from a lot of residents or even clients that have talked to me about the assessor's office, they've been dealt with a lot of professionalism and competency. Keep up the great work. I couldn't say a single thing that you guys need to change.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That makes
Next
us feel good.
Next, we have Councilman Muscat. You muted yourself. Hold on.
Thank you, Council Chair. What you need for internet, is that $10 or $20 per tablet, or for both tablets, since it would be under one contract?
I am not 100% sure on the specifics. So there's different sizes of data plans, and the one that I think we could go with, it's per tablet. It'd be $10 per tablet. I just don't have a really good gauge on how much data my one appraiser would be using in the field as of right now, because this is a new thing for us. So perhaps we would start with a lower amount for data. And if it becomes an issue where she's drawing or needs more data, perhaps we could at least boost her tablet. I don't think I'll need it because I use one of the tablets for my commercial field work, and Catherine uses the other tablet for the residential field work.
We're only talking $240 here at $20.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not a lot.
that's pretty reasonable increase for what you need to do for your job, and you guys excel at your job.
Thank you.
Doing what you do, so perfect. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, because I know the building department and stuff, you guys have talked to them already, and we already know how busy they are. And anytime the building department gets busy, we get busy too by proxy.
Sure.
So the more building there is, the more turnover there is. I mean, the market's booming right now, so there's just constantly more sales and things like that. The tablet, the state wants us to look at about approximately 20% of each type of parcel. And because we have a pretty limited staff currently, any tech we can use to make us be able to look at more properties per year on a quicker basis would be great for us.
Council Chair,
Yes.
I believe you're pretty knowledgeable about this stuff here. You have any ideas of what they could do or who we could turn this project over to?
You mean as far as the data plan, I would check.
Yeah,
I would like to check with the building department or ordinance and see if they already have a data plan. And if we could just add into it, it might be cheaper. They might have.
okay. Yeah,
a
you
group
seem
rate.
to be pretty up to date on this stuff, so.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Maybe we can vote you in.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
Okay, next we have Councilman Constant. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to echo what Councilman Dave Abdullah said, and also Councilman Musket. I've had great quick response from the assessor's office. Thank you. I believe the ordinance officers have tablets and can go out and connect ordinance and animal control.
Yeah,
So
you're correct.
you should be able to piggyback on that plan, I would think. You might check with Doug Feldkamp in IT. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Councilman Abdel Haq.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say I had a great experience with the fellows in the assessor's office. Every time I went there, they were responsive, they were courteous, and I thank them for what they're doing for the city.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Council Chair, keep an eye out for
I am.
Riley, Mr. Riley.
I just wrote myself a note. I am.
Okay, thank you.
Next we have Chief of Staff Hernandez. Go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you, Kim, and I did look into it, so I did find out about this recently. Ordinance currently does not have a data plan, so they just have the ports in their desk where they upload and download the information every day. They are currently in the process of switching tablets to some new ones, so I did reach out to Tarek to see if it would be a better alternative to, instead of having the docking stations in their desks, to move to this data plan and include all of the tablets for the departments. He's going to look into that and see what the price difference is going to look like. But no, they have never had a data plan before, unfortunately.
Okay, well, thanks for the
Okay.
information.
Yeah, thank
I
you, 'cause
appreciate looking into it.
This would
for
be
us.
probably a good time then that we could maybe all get together on a data plan then.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, like I said, other than the increase in the little bit for the supplies, because cost of everything is going up, and then the rate of inflation increase for the contract, that's really all we have. We don't need much. We manage mostly for what we've got.
With what we have. Sure.
Yeah.
It's working.
Questions for the assessor's office? At this time, we are waiting on John Riley, and I don't see him in here. Mr. Ancraft, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick one. Again, I sent an email to all the council members a few days ago regarding your photographs. Please, if you have an updated photo, get it over to me. We want to use these obviously in the newsletter, but also if you have something updated, we want to be able to use that on the city's website as well. Okay. If you don't have good
You're freezing up.
Headshot or portrait type shot. I'm going to be in all Oh, are we still there?
Yeah, you're freezing up.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Speaking of uplands, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
But again, if you need a shot, I will be in City Hall on Wednesday from 12 to 3. So come on, get dressed up, come on in, and I'll be glad to shoot a new photo for you. That's it.
Good.
Okay, next I have Councilman Baydoun.
He's muted.
I know, I'm waiting for him to unmute.
I'll
There's a
wait.
delay
Trustee
for
Riley.
anybody.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. While we're waiting for Trustee Riley, I'll just kind of piggyback on what everybody else has been saying. I've actually had a couple of friends go to the assessor's office, and one of my buddies is so hard to deal with, said, I wanted to tell you, the ladies at the assessor's office were so kind. They were so nice. I said, you know, I don't know everybody at the assessor's office, but I'll be sure to tell them. So here I am today. So thank you guys for everything that you're doing. I know it's tough. I know it's hard, but I know you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open it up to public comment. We have a Rachel Lapointe that would like to speak. Let me unmute them. Go ahead, please.
Is that for us or is that for anybody?
There he is.
Council Chair, I see John, by the way.
Okay, hold on. I've called on Lapointe, then I'll go to Riley. I know he's in there. Go ahead, please. Rachel Lapointe, you're unmuted. I think she's having difficulty. So let's go to John Riley. Rachel, if you do need to speak, please raise your hand again to let me know that you intend to speak on this meeting. Let's bring in, where is, oh, here, there he is. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes, you're unmuted.
Yes,
It's your
John.
turn.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We're still in
Good
morning.
afternoon. Most.
We're not in morning, but we're here this morning. The department that I was going to speak on is, I guess, Department 956, which is the pension expenses. Is the controller Jawad with us and Mariana?
Anna's here and Jawad's here.
Okay, so I did speak with them earlier this week about some of these transactions or these adjustments. So as I said last night, we have interviewed to have a new pension administrator that would be doing those, the police and fire and the general government pensions. And I met with you guys, I think last Friday, about the adjustments to the general government budget. And so this is the one for the police and fire, which would needed to be for the pay for the part-time employees. So I don't know what page this is in the budget, but it's one of your last departments in general fund.
46.
Page 40.
Yep.
45 and 46. John's muted.
He's frozen.
Unmute. How about now?
Good.
Okay, all right. Whew. Okay, so my understanding is we're on page 46. The first item was salaries. Is that showing 33,500?
Yes.
Okay. That should be moved to zero because there isn't going to be any salaries. There's only going to be the part-time position. And there's actually two part-time positions. There's the pension administrator and there is the retirement specialist, which is currently on board. So the next line item, the part-time line item, would go to 47,000. So that's basically taking the 33,500 and the 46, the 33,500 and moving it down to that line item with the 6,000 plus it's putting in the additional for the pension administrator who's going to be putting in more hours than I was originally budgeted for. Because originally it was Vince and I working together. Vince left in November, and I've been working with Mickey Rivera, and the new administrator is going to need more time to do what I do, and it's going to have kind of set office hours here at 28 hours a week. The next line item then,
John, what's the total?
All right, so that would be 47,000 for the part-time.
Thank you.
Okay, the next line item, I put in fringe benefits at 7 point, something, 7.5%. I don't know, Badri, is that kind of what you guys use? So I put in 3,525 for the fringe benefits. Badri, what do you use for fringe benefits for part-timers? Do you have a set percentage that's used, or is, I mean, with this one, it would be basically by this being the FICA tax. That's kind of what we previously talked about.
Can you hear me, John Riley? I'm sorry, I'm driving. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Dante coming in.
Okay, so it's 7.65. FICA is 0.0765. So you're close.
All right, 6.5. Okay, I put in, so I put in 3,525, okay? In there, so that would total 50,525. And then we added in some supplies at $500, and that's account 101-956-728.000, and I put in $500. And again, I gave a whole spreadsheet to Badri and Mariana when we met this past week. So if we could go, then out of these expenses, the pension system funds back to the city enough to cover these, because basically all the city is doing for the pension system is, managing the payroll for them, because obviously the pension system doesn't have a payroll department. And then the pension system always also reimburses the city for the time that the deputy comptroller and the comptroller basically work on pension items, which relate to the P19s, which are the payroll records, the year-end accounting numbers, and the administration of the purchase of time, which is often done through payroll deduction. So when I spoke with the deputy comptroller, she said that about 10% of her time is used towards the pensions. And so that's why I use 10%. And so basically if we go to page, I don't know what page this is of the budget of the general I guess it's the first revenue page of the budget.
Page 3 and 4.
Okay, what is at the top of that page? Again, my pages are not numbered.
Current property taxes.
Okay, so if you go down towards the end of that page, you'll see a contribution from Act 345.
It's actually at the top. Second one after
No,
taxes.
sir, no, that's the tax. That's the tax levy. It would be account 101-000-580.966.
Okay, I got it.
Contributions form, okay.
57,000.
57,000. So if we, to make up for the increased cost for the pension administrator and to reimburse the city for the comptroller and deputy controller's work on the pension system and for the office supplies, that new number would be 68,475. And I kind of could, if I was able to show you or share my screen on the other one, I would be able to show you the better breakdown of it. But I shared that with Mariana and Badri this past week.
John, can you email those changes to us?
Yeah, well, I'm going to try to share it if I can log in on the Zoom here.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to join a meeting. If you give me 1 minute. Okay, they're waiting. I'm waiting to be let in.
Oh, no.
All right. No. Okay, and then if you can make me the co-host, I will go ahead and share from that John Riley.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not set up as co-host. The John Riley one.
Oh, wait a minute. You're on the other one. Hold on. Let me go back into the other one. Yeah, you don't have a picture there. That's why. Let me go here. Okay, go ahead. Now you are.
Okay. Okay. And then at the bottom of the page here, can you guys see that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. So here you see the pension administrator position. And then again, it's a part-time position. So its benefit factor is just the FICA. And we expected it to work about 2/3 of the time on the police and fire, the rest of the time on the general government. They will, when they're working, they will actually log in their time based on which department they're working on. Just like this morning, I worked a couple hours with the city treasurer. I will log into Paylocity that I worked there for a couple of hours, and I'm not working, doing anything else today. But if I were, then if I was doing pension stuff today, I would put that in as, under that account. So here is the pension administrator, the retirement specialist. Down here is the controller. I put in it 80,000 plus a benefit factor, a deputy controller with a benefit factor of 25%, because their benefits include health care and pension and other things. And then I put them in at 10%. That's how I came up with the 17,450 or 449. And then I see office supplies. So that's how I came up with the 68,477. Can you see that at the bottom of the page?
Yes.
And then did you want me to put up the other changes that I previously talked about back on page 46 or no?
Yes, please.
Okay. Right. This one is not such a clean page, but I guess you can see it. You'll be able to see it. Let's see here. All right. All right. So here we're taking the salaries line item to 0, the part-time to 47,000, the fringe benefits to 3,525, totaling 50,525. And then we're adding in the supplies for $500, which is, envelopes and all of that type of stuff. So I guess, as I mentioned yesterday, we had interviews, and we had a second interview with the candidate yesterday prior to the city council meeting. And, the board wanted to move forward with hiring that experienced and educated individual with pension administration. But, hopefully that, the board and the council, everybody agrees that the pension needs to have a professional administrator handling their situation. This is not a small operation. The combined assets of the two funds are over $250 million. So it's not like something that can just be done by a $15 an hour part-timer.
Correct.
Council Chair?
Are you done presenting?
Yeah, I
Mr.
guess I mean, do I want me to take down the screen share now?
Yes, yes, because I do have a list here of people. I have Chief of Staff first. She had her hand up and everybody's changed spots. Let me find her. There you go.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I just wanted to apologize for all the council members that didn't receive this ahead of time. We did get it last Friday, and we are planning on sharing every single item that has been changed during those budget hearings in our document that we will share with you on Monday, showing all the changes that each department has requested from the original proposed budget, which is going to include all the conversations that have been here during our budget hearings. So you will see that hopefully on a column adjacent to what was proposed and the new proposal. And then it will be up to you to decide, of course, how you want to move forward.
Yeah, because in the past, usually we were the only ones that made the adjustments at the budget wrap up. That's why we have the wrap up, is everybody goes back and puts in whatever they wanted to change at that point in time. So I don't know if it's necessary that you do that, but I just want to let you know that's the past procedure. Next, we have Hassan Jamal. I'm losing, where is he? There you are. Hold on, let me unmute you. I'm sorry, you moved to a different part of the screen. You weren't there before.
I don't know what happens. I am moving my picture going and coming back. I have no idea.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for John. Mr. Riley, why you want the city council to approve the business of the Act 345 board?
I think as explained earlier, we don't have a payroll department for the pension system. We basically, we have an office and most of our transactions run through the trust fund. But so that the individual can get paid, the city kind of facilitates the payroll area for us, and then we reimburse the city for the payroll.
Okay.
That has been the transaction.
Okay. From the point of view of the State of Michigan Department of Treasury Charter of Accounting, this is not a function of the city council to approve. All what we need is 2 lines from you. How much you asking us to pay, and how much we will pay from there. This is not a function of the city council or city administration. You are asking the city to manage a part of or to pay on behalf of the Act 345. They make the decision. We will just move money from here to there. It is not under the jurisdictions of the city council. City council approved the money for the board at the beginning of the year. They say, here's $10 million, $20 million. Thank you. Then the board decide who they want to hire, who they want to fire. And you are asking us to just take, hey, Mr. Controller, we have 2 lines item. I want you to spend on behalf of the board that much and take it from this account. Done deal. I don't advise the city council to approve this or disapprove it. This is just a paper process in our budget. It's the same thing, we do with others. Like TIFA, we don't manage their account. They come to you at the end of the year, says approve our budget. If the Act 345 or the general government fund that board want to come to you and says approve our budget, no big deal. You already approved their budget when they ask you to levy taxes. The taxes you levy every year, it's the money of the board. It's not the city money anymore. As I said, it's a quasi-governmental agency. They are responsible for their money.
We understand that. We understand that, Mr. Jamal, and you guys are giving us our administrative money, and the city in the past has facilitated the payroll. That's what's been happening with me. That's what's happening with Vince McCarry.
I agree with you. I agree with you. We will process, the city will process the payroll. No problem. But the city does not approve your payroll.
I understand. We don't expect
Okay,
them
as long as you understand, I have no problem. From the compliance point of view, you are not approving the payroll of the board. They approve their payroll, they do in the interview, they hire their employees, they are entitled, they are in control. You can't interfere with the board business.
But
Only time you have to interfere with the board business from the budgetary point of view. I'm not talking about the legal, I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking budgetary. You approve their budget when you allocate the money for them at the time you make the levies. When you
yes,
do that, you're done with it. We enter it in our general ledger and we take it out from the expenditure of the general ledger. I already, as a budget committee, Madam Chairwoman, as a budget committee, we working together as a team. The team I already explained to you, there are 5 of us. And when we do a recommendation, we consult with Plant Moran, I consult with myself from the compliance point of view, I consult with the charter for accounting of the city of the state of Michigan and see the process and the procedure. Mr. John Rady is a CPA. We understand all this, and I appreciate Mr. Reddy agreeing. We only process this. You approved it. We bring it back. Thank you. I have no more to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Abdul Haq.
I do agree with Mr. Jamal, and he did answer my question, actually. Thank you.
Next, we have Councilman Abdullah.
My question has also been answered.
Next, we have Councilman Muscat.
I don't know if I raised my hand. If I did, I'm sorry.
It's been a while. I'm sorry. We've been on this for a while.
That's all right. All questions have been answered. I had none for this, for Mr. Riley. He's done a pretty good job explaining everything.
Next, I have Councilman Constant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to be unmuted. But I think the
Mute him back.
key here is that we're asking the city, the comptroller, to administer the payroll, issue the checks, not even the payroll, issue the checks for payment for the city's pension plan. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, next, I'm going to open it up to public comment. State your name. You have 2 minutes. Raise your hand to be called on. Seeing none, I guess that wraps up our budget hearing for today. Oh, we have Vince Strapkowski. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Council, Mr. Mayor, and everybody. I got into this meeting very late. I just got here like 5 minutes ago. But I did want to ask a question regarding the cable TV and the emergency manager. Is that going to be separated, or is that going to be under one job description?
Ask both of them to unmute, so whoever wants to answer it may answer it.
It's, how would I answer it? NCRAP is aboard, and Robert's going to do more of the video. I'm still doing the video, the cable. He's overseeing the new projects, and I'm still doing the emergency management.
Okay, I've got questions regarding, because I've been in communication with people that were on the CERTS program, and they have not had any recent training or any communication regarding what's going on.
No, they
Is
have
that
had.
program, is that program still alive? Or is
That's
that
my
been put
program.
aside?
That program falls under me, and Anthony Residio still oversees it. Anthony has a newsletter every month he sends out to the CERT employees. The CERT, we have not met due to COVID, but we're in touch with them. They just participated in the siren program we had. They went out and twice a year, we make sure all our emergency sirens are working, and the CERTs go to a certain location when we activate them. So yeah, there has been communication with through Mr. Residio, and he's in touch with them and I'm in touch with him. So no, we have not been doing much due to COVID. We can't meet in the library, that's closed down, so.
Right, well, this even goes back prior to COVID is what I'm referring to. And then also, I think the last major training session that CERTS had, correct me if I'm wrong, was when they brought in the airplane fuselage and parked it behind Berwyn to do some sort of training. I mean, what type of training are these people getting?
Are you on the CERT team, sir?
No, I'm not.
Okay, we do have our training. Anthony oversees the training. We have speakers that come in. We usually meet at the library. We've had some aircraft situations, not aircraft, but we've had from the state police, disaster training. There you go, thank you. So we have had training. If need be, I'll get you in touch with Mr. Residio. And Anthony, I talk to him once a month. And we have been limited due to COVID, but as soon as things open up and the library's back open, we'll continue our monthly training.
Okay.
Mr. Ancramp wants to add to it. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just a quick addition regarding the exercises for the CERT members. Yes, the aircraft incident was a big training for us. But since then, again, back when I was working full time, we did do a number of search and rescue exercises. Actually, we did at least one or two a year where we were bringing those members out and refreshing their skills, whether it was safe operations around a down power line or search and rescue, or a number of different topics like that. But yes, there were indeed a number of exercises that were taking place back then.
Correct. And the reason why I bring this up is because, Dearborn Heights is a direct flight path to Metro Airport. And, thank God it was, we haven't had a major incident since the aircraft that crashed into the 94 expressway there. But, I would just like our teams and our fire department to be ready for an incident like that, because God forbid, how many flights go over my house, let alone everybody else's house that's in the flight path there. And they are flying pretty low. I don't know if there's something that can be done about that, to get them a little bit higher up before they make their final approach or what. But that's my question. Thank you.
Next, I have Shantae Stringfellow. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I don't really have, I just wanted to say really quickly, I know that several individuals get on here sometimes and they thank others. And I know, Mr. Riley, you'll be leaving the pension board. And so as he stated, about 10% lately, maybe even 20% of my work has been dedicated to calculating drop payouts, working with the P19s and things as such. But he has been a major significant help. And so I tell him privately all the time that I appreciate him and thank you so much. But I just wanted to tell him publicly, with all the changes we've had in the office and everything, that I appreciate him and thank you so much for helping us. He has been a wonderful help.
Thank you.
Next, I have Councilman Abdullah. You have 2 minutes, please. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Council Chair, I just wanted to make a request. We did this, I think, either last year or the year before, and the Chief of Staff, Mariana, mentioned a little bit about it, but when we have the final budget, proposed budget, if whoever's doing this, can they have it in a different color, the proposed changes? Because in the past, I'd say probably about 4 or 5 years back, you had to go through the whole thing to see what changes. It was just too much work. It's much easier if we can have it in a different color, the proposed changes, so we can know what we're specifically approving, and it'll expedite the next meeting much more. So I'd really appreciate it if that can be done. Thank you.
Mayor, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam
2
Chair.
minutes.
I want to, so Vince asked a question about with the aircraft. I know we're in approach, been on on the aviation side, working for Boeing, I've seen a lot of obviously aviation fires, and I know our fire department does an outstanding job when they do train for the fuel fires, but like say JP fires. And I know we've had training with them. You know, it's obviously it's a small training, so the chief probably could shed more light on it. But I know they did an amazing job with when we actually practiced as council members. Which is similar to what a lot of, I guess, departments when I was in the military, we did some training, obviously, because we work on the flight line sometimes as MPs to help out with the fire department. So they do. I know our fire department does an amazing job with that. So, Chief Brogan raises.
Yeah,
hand.
Chief Brogan wants to speak. Can we let him speak?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Chief.
Just so there's no concerns, we drill with the airport all the time. The airport is very prepared for this kind of thing. We just had a major, large scale drill with them within the last 6 months. Every 2 to 3 years, the airport does a massive drill that's required by the FAA. I'm close friends with Chief Mike Evans. Actually, he just retired. Now Chief Glenn Osuch is out at the airport, and we're in communications on a very regular basis. We do lots of drills together. Yeah, we're very prepared for an emergency along those lines. Hopefully, we're never gonna have to deal with one. We did back years ago when Flight 255 came down, but hopefully we'll never have to do that again.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, is there any more questions from the public or public comment? I guess that concludes our budget meeting for today. See you next Friday for the budget wrap up. Thank you, everyone. And
Have a good day, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.